Hi everyone, this is OCD Radio, OCD Live, and I'm Ali Greymond. So let's get to some questions. The question I had here is about sleep, and this is again what we talked about last week, and I just wanted to give a more clear answer. Um, when it comes to sleep and OCD, your brain is already stressed out, and I'm answering the question for a specific person, but also probably most people could use this information. That if you have OCD, your brain is already extremely stressed out because especially the frontal cortex, which is the area where kind of it overheats, so to speak, when you have OCD, because you're engaging it so much. So you need to relax, and the less sleep you get, not to like put pressure, but the less sleep you get, the worse generally your symptoms are going to be. Now, what you can do to facilitate good sleep: first of all, you need to prepare the situation. So in the beginning, prepare the room to have a lot of fresh air. So say half an hour, or yeah, like about half an hour before you go to bed, open all the windows, get the room cleared out of like stale air, get the fresh air in. Second is you want to make sure that the room is not too hot. And again, since it's the winter, it's kind of both things will happen at once, right? So as you get the colder air in, then the room will naturally cool down. Because if the room is hot and uncomfortable in that way, you'll have trouble falling asleep, where the cool room will naturally help you produce sleep. Now, you want to make sure you're not drinking caffeine. If you can't fall asleep, a lot of the times it's because of caffeinated drinks. So, cut it out or drink as early in the day as possible. If you have the 4 o'clock crash, which a lot of us do, and I myself have a caffeine issue as well, right? So, I don't have OCD anymore as such, but I do have caffeine issue, right? So, for that, what you want to do is you want to make sure that in the afternoon you're drinking a maybe some sort of like a green drink, because green drinks, first of all, they alkalize the body, so they will make you feel better. They'll give you energy, but it's the right kind of energy rather than caffeine, which acidifies the body. So that's those two things are very important. Now, another thing is what happens when you actually go to bed and you start to have all these thoughts and it's hard to stop. The best thing to do is to only go to bed when you are sleepy. If you feel like that's too late and you're, because of how you are with your job, it doesn't really work out that way, try to go to bed, try to wake up earlier, and then you'll be tired for that first day, but then because you're tired, you're gonna go to sleep a lot earlier, you know? So don't try to control when you're going to bed as much as controlling when you wake up, because if you wake up earlier, your body's not getting enough rest that first day. It's gonna crash much earlier than it would on if you try to fall asleep, because falling asleep when you're not tired is very difficult. If you stayed up if you stayed up later the night before, or if you were waking up earlier, then it would help you a lot. um, Now, if you are kind of sleeping but kind of not, and keep tossing and turning and thinking about the thought, I would suggest putting something like a any kind of story, and putting headphones in your ears and listening to a story. So that way it drowns out the internal noise in the head. Like whatever your OCD is trying to tell you, it will drown it out. Also, meditation is very important. So again, not just meditation where you're just laying there, but guided meditation where you're listening to the voice and you're saying what you're doing, what the voice tells you to do. So relax your hands, relax your legs, and you're doing that and trying to focus away from these thoughts. Because the more you focus away your attention, however that works, the more you focus away your attention, the weaker your thoughts are going to get. The more you focus on the thought, the stronger your thoughts are going to get. So it's very, very important for you to focus away from the thought and to get as much rest as possible. And you already know this, but these are some of the techniques that will help you do it. So, and if you feel like if you're in a situation where you're laying there in the middle of the night and you're wide awake and you can't, figure it out, where like none of the stuff that I'm saying works, then get up, do something, get to a point where you're tired, and then go to back to bed. And when I say get up and do something, I mean actually something that's fairly activating on your brain, because you want to make sure that you are very active and that your brain has something else to focus on, you know? So it's not, I mean, for the sleep cycle, it's not really good to break up the sleep cycle like this, but it will be very good in terms of helping you, stop the OCD thought. Because the worst thing you can do, and you said that to me as well, that the worst thing you can do is just lay there, right? Like that's counterproductive, because if you're laying there and you're thinking about the thought and it's not going away and it's getting worse and worse and worse, you are really saying to your mind every minute that, okay, this is an important thought, please send me more because this is very dangerous, I need to solve this, all of this stuff, and your mind will send you more. So do everything and anything you need to do to get to a proper sleep, and these are some of the things that you can do. I would say your best bet is to be very tired out of all of this, because if you're very tired, you'll crash. So maybe try to fill up your day with physical activity as well. You were saying that your job requires more like mental activity, but if you're actually like exercising, doing a lot of walking, getting yourself physically tired, you'll have a better chance of crashing. And it's not all of these things will work together. So caffeine, get yourself tired, get yourself up early, you'll fall asleep. Don't rely on like sleeping pills or anything like that, because I mean, for short term they're okay, but your body starts to rely on those, and it messes you up. Again, another issue with sleep is you want to make sure that you are not looking at the devices right before bed, because that just messes up your whole sleep cycle. So because the devices that we have nowadays, they emit blue light. So if you have like an iPhone or an iPad or like any of the Android devices, that's going to make the situation worse, because blue light, when any of your devices, when they emit blue light directly into your eyes, it's the same, it mimics daylight, and your mind gets a signal that it's daytime, this is just a nap. And because of that, your sleep cycle, when you actually do fall asleep, it gets thrown off. The hormones are not produced the same, and if it's a long-term pattern, it can actually create problems for you. So you got to make sure that you are not doing that. They suggest not to look at the devices about 2 hours before bed. If you're looking at the device in the like regular light, like evening lighting, which is also not the greatest, but at least if there's other lighting present, it's not going to be as severe. But if you're just staring at it in a dark room, it just makes the whole situation way worse. So you want to make sure you're looking at the device and then just putting it away. I suggest for things like meditations and like listening to something to drown out OCD, getting one of those really cheap MP3 players. And they probably, depending on where you live, but here in Canada they have them in every like electronics store. They're like $10, maybe something like that. They're very old school, like they'll have the buttons and stuff like that. They'll have like a tiny screen just displaying like what song is playing, but they work well. They have large storage, well, for their size, right? So for songs, for music, for talks, they're really, really good, and they're not really emitting much of anything, so it helps you really. So those are some of my suggestions. Try them all if you're having a really hard time, because all of them will do a little bit and they will help together. And don't underestimate the fresh air, because the fresh air, I'm telling you, you start to breathe fresh air, you're gonna fall right asleep. You know how sometimes they say, like, if your baby has trouble falling asleep, go around the block a few times with the stroller, because fresh air, so same thing, you'll sleep like a baby, but you have to do all those things. Caffeine, sleeping, fresh air, tiredness, very, very, very important. I'm telling you, you're gonna see results. But it's like, and then another thing is, re-examine your job situation, because sometimes, depending on your hours, if you are working at night or close to working at night, it's not a really good situation. Because when you're working at night, what happens is, you come or like late, your body clock gets thrown off, and again, the I don't know how to say it right, like circadian rhythms get thrown off, and your body is not producing the right hormones, which starts a problem with the next day with how you're handling OCD. Because all of this, first of all, you're not getting enough sleep, so you're tired. But second of all, is that your whole brain is tired. So your brain is tired to deal with your real life, and your brain is too tired to handle OCD thoughts properly. So it becomes a process of everything not really working correctly. So it's very, very important for you to fix the situation. If you would like to talk to me about it further, how to reach me, so just email me at info@youhaveocd.com, and we can set up a session, or if you have more questions, I can just answer them in email. And that goes for all of you guys, that if you have questions, I'm basically one click away. So and I try to answer my emails. Ideally, I try to answer in about a few hours, at most a day. If you don't hear from me after a day, just send me another email, because sometimes things get misplaced. Okay, so I also wanted to talk to you guys about what's up and what's new and what's going to be happening. So in about, I would say about a week to 2 weeks, I'll have a book coming out on how to overcome OCD using CBT. And if you guys have read my previous books, they all give basic information on how to get over OCD, and at the same time, they're specific in their in whatever the book is about. So, for example, Pure O book on how to get over Pure O type of OCD. The beginning of the book is just going over the basics on how OCD works, and then the second part of the book is specifically about Pure O. But the first part of the book is about Pure O as well, because it's telling you how OCD works specifically in Pure O terms, right? So this is just how I like to write books, because I feel like there is information that everybody needs to know about OCD, that it's like the core information, and no matter what kind of OCD you have, you need to know the core. And then what you need to know is how to deal with your specific type of OCD. So there's two different things, but again, they're not that different. So, so in a few weeks, I'm gonna have, or in about a week, I'm gonna have the CBT book come out, and that's gonna include mindfulness techniques. It's gonna include nutritional health aspect. It's going to include the regular therapy. It's going to include ERP. I am at some point going to have a separate book on just ERP and going through it very quickly, and that's going to be a very kind of a very aggressive approach. So if you are low on time, it's going to kind of help you speed it up. I also am going to have a book coming out on harm OCD specifically, because harm OCD is so common, and I feel like it's not talked about enough because of kind of the subject matter of it. But if you have a harm OCD, first of all, it's not rare by any means, and second is that you need to know exactly how to handle it, exactly where the thoughts are coming from, and that will explain that. So those are some of the things that I have coming up for you guys. Also, can you guys tell me what you would like to see? If there's any specific topic you would like me to cover, or any specific angle you would like me to focus on of OCD, because I'm only one person, and if you tell me to do something, I will most likely do it, because I really do want to help and do it really in any way possible. So another thing I wanted to mention is right now we have Christmas coming up, and I want you guys to know that a lot of people are having a really hard time. So if you're having a hard time right now, being Christmas, and or depending on your religion, but being holidays generally, sometimes it's really kind of hard to deal with. And the best advice I can give you with that is don't put pressure on yourself to feel good, because that is the number one setup for failure when it comes to enjoying Christmas. Is if you build yourself up like, I have to feel good, I have to feel good, I have to feel good, and then you don't because you have OCD thoughts coming into your mind, it's like you start to feel, oh my God, like I'm not going to enjoy Christmas. This is all for nothing. I'm not feeling good. And then Christmas passes and then you're just fine. And you're like, oh, I wish today was Christmas because today I'm fine. So, but the reason why you weren't fine on Christmas Day is because you were really putting pressure on yourself, and OCD said, oh, okay, you're worried about feeling good on Christmas. I'll send you thoughts on Christmas. Because again, that part of the mind doesn't understand the reasoning behind things. It just understands your reaction. So if you start to be afraid of Christmas, essentially, because that's kind of the signal you're sending, even though you don't feel like that, that's the signal you're sending, that you're scared of not feeling good on Christmas, therefore you're kind of nervous about Christmas, therefore Christmas is dangerous. That's the signal you're sending, even though it sounds kind of absurd. But so what you want to say all the time to yourself is just say, I'm feeling the way I'm feeling. If I don't feel very well, I don't feel very well. I am not going to put pressure on myself to try to feel better. The way I feel is fine. I'm going to move on. And going through your life like that until the holidays are done. Also, try not to do a lot of exposures right now. Not to say to avoid exposures, because you need to do exposures in order to recover. But at the same time, you want to make sure that you are not exposing yourself to too much, so you don't kind of overdo it right before Christmas, So do the exposures that you need to do. Most of people who have OCD already have exposures in their daily life without even trying to add more. So your regular amount of exposures is probably enough. And when you do have a situation when you're exposed to OCD, really try to not pay attention to it, meaning that the thought is going to come in, so you are going to pay attention to it, but actively refuse to. So I feel like I should pay attention to this, but I will choose not to. And follow it as much as possible, because every time you follow it, you will feel better long term. Not right away, long term. Right away, you'll feel worse because your anxiety is going to go up, because your mind thinks it's like you're basically, doing something to hurt yourself, because you're putting yourself in danger. That's what your mind thinks. So it's going to send you anxiety as if that's true. So anxiety is meaningless in this situation with OCD. It's all coming from the part of the brain that thinks the situation is true. It means nothing. The feelings that you get with OCD, feelings of, when you're around other people, feelings of being a fraud. I hear it every day. It doesn't matter what kind of OCD the person has. Everybody feels like this, because you feel like you're around people and you're doing what everybody else is doing, but at the same time you don't feel like everybody else. But first of all, if you examine this further, not that you want to analyze, but if you examine it further, how do you know this? Who is really normal? How do you know that this person next to you that's smiling and looks like they're having a good time, how do you know that they don't have problems? Everybody has issues, everybody has problems. So don't assume just because you feel like a fraud that nobody else does. And again, the feeling of feeling like a fraud, or feeling like you're not really being your real self, comes from the fact that, again, your mind thinks that the situation is true. And if it were true, you would feel like a fraud, right? So that is where that thought is coming from, because the mind is convinced that it is true, so it's sending you feelings as it would if this was a real situation. But it means nothing, because the mind doesn't have the ability to even decide if it's true or not. It's completely going by you, If it was true, it wouldn't know it, because it doesn't have that ability. So that's kind of the trick of the OCD, is that your mind is sending you these feelings like it's true, like it's real, but at the same time, it doesn't even have the ability to decide whether it is. So for example, if you have a harm OCD and you think you were a murderer, whether you are a murderer or not, the mind wouldn't know it, you know? In that specific part of the mind, I mean, generally your mind would know it, obviously, but that specific part of the mind would not be able to tell the difference, you know? It's looking at you, what you think, you know? But if you were a murderer, you wouldn't have a question of what if I'm a murderer. You would just automatically know that, you know, that this is what happened, this is the situation. But this what if immediately means OCD, or however you word what if. So what if, maybe, all of these feelings of maybe yes, maybe no, all of these are OCD, because if you were for real faced with the serious situations, it wouldn't be a what if. And you can know this from your past experience that, you know, if, for example, you were faced with something very serious in your life, or maybe, you know, a time in your life where you behaved less than good, you know that you never questioned what you did. You just know that, okay, well, in this situation, I behaved probably not as good as I could have. I'm going to work on it next time, you know? So, and just going through it like that. So, and that just shows you right there that you, true you, knows what's true and what not. Logically, you know, it's the feelings that are messing you up. So stop focusing on the feelings and they'll stop messing you up, you know? And it's a choice that you're saying from this moment on, this thought that I was having and I was so worried about, it's irrelevant. I'm gonna focus away on my real life and leave this thought as it is. If it's important, trust me, it's gonna come back and show itself, and then, like, for real, and then you'll know it's true, you know. So, but if it's not true and if it's not showing itself, like, why are you keeping it there? Why are you making yourself suffer? So those are just some of the topics I wanted to bring up today. Please send me more questions. I know everybody's kind of busy, but if you are struggling, you know, I am here every Wednesday, so please feel free. You can send it to info@youhaveocd.com, or you can just put a comment below one of these videos. I will see it and I will answer it next video. Just please, if you email me, please clearly label whether you would like to ask the question on air or not, because I don't want to kind of, you know, say something that I shouldn't say, that kind of thing. So also, if you visit youhaveocd.com, you have the opportunities to sign up for the recovery program with me. And the recovery program, I'm telling you, it's extremely, extremely effective as long as you put effort into it. I actually wanted to read you guys a quote that one of my clients said the other day, and I just thought, you know, it was so brilliant how he put it, because, you know, okay, wait a minute. Okay, here he said, Ali, I've been trying your method during the last 6 days, and although it has been very painful at times and sometimes difficult to apply, I'm beginning to see changes for the better. I am really looking forward to talking to you tomorrow. So, you know, and this shows you right there that, you know, this is exactly how it works. That yes, this method is gonna work, and at the same time, you need to be prepared for the fight, because it is work, basically, you know. So as long as you are prepared and willing to do the work, you will see results and you will recover. You know, but if you take it like, oh, you know, it's just doing the method but not really doing it, you know, then you will get, you know, that kind of a result, you know. So it's being prepared for the fight, putting in 100% of your effort, and I'm telling you, if you do that, everybody who has done it with me in the recovery program has recovered. So it's not a question of, even for me personally, like, because I see it every day, so it's not a question of if, it's a question of when, you know. So the person recovers. Some people recover a little faster, some people take a little bit more time, but generally, if they keep putting effort into it, they're going to get better and better and better. So that's just something I kind of wanted to mention too, and I guess that's it. So I'll see you guys next Wednesday.